Good morning, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope everybody's doing great. As for me, I'm off to my usual start. Been up since before dawn, which is my common practice. I believe in getting the day started right. I believe in getting the day started fresh. I believe in starting your day with a mindset and a heart of gratitude. When you fill your mind and your heart with thankfulness, it is much more difficult to be focused on the things that aren't going right, and which diminishes your energy, something we're going to talk about today. And it focuses you on number one, gratitude is the gateway to receiving. And people don't get it. People think gratitude is simply about being thankful for what you have. That's what initiates the gratitude. The gratitude is the gateway. The more grateful you are, the more open you are to receive, because you are focused on appreciation. You're focused on gratefulness. You're focused on being thankful. And that opens up you to receive more. The more you complain, the more frustration you express and exude, the more you whine, the more you blame and everything else for what's not going right, the tighter and the gate is shut. And the less you are able to receive on higher levels. The more negative things you focus on, the more negative things you receive. It sounds simple, and at the core of it, it is a simple thing. You're going to get what you focus on. What you focus on is what you get. And if you're focusing on negative things, you'll get negative things. You're focusing on positive things, you will receive more positive. It doesn't eliminate the possibility of experiencing some form of negativity, because that energy is out there as well. But you're going to be better equipped to do it. Before we get into this, this is still on the financial theme, even though we're going with our daily things. Today is Quantum Reality Friday. So we're going to talk about what are you manifesting in your financial world? And we're going to talk about how that works and how everything is connected. But before we do, want to remind you, if you haven't gotten book number 20, which is Critical Mass, get this book now. Critical Mass is 20 out of 21. We're dropping book 21, I Am, which I'm like literally crazy about because of how dynamic the book is and how much you're going to really relate to it, how you're going to pick it up, and you can still pre-order that. And we kind of shut down the pre-ordering, but you can still pre-order it if you find a link. We wanted to focus on really finishing. But here's book number 20, the first book in the 6-book series on personal development and personal success. This book is definitely 400 pages of power. And so definitely you want to grab that. If you are interested in developing a more keen understanding of finance, you can enroll in the Financial Literacy 101 and Beyond course. This is one that you take at your own pace. You work and you interact with me, and we get things understood. We develop new ideas, new practices, and you see the differences as it plays out in your life. This is a real-time development course. You can get that by clicking on the link at the top of the description or post box or wherever you see this at. After you see the subject or topic, you're going to see a few words we're going to talk about, and then you'll see that. Also, if you're looking to shift paradigms, change the way you view the world completely in order to achieve greater things, meaning you're going to create new base beliefs that work and handle your limitations. Your limitations are all determined by what you believe, and those paradigms that set those beliefs and hold them is what's holding you in the position you're in. When you shift paradigms, you shift positions and possibilities. And so you can also enroll in that Power of Paradigm course. Now that that's out of the way, I'm gonna do the best I can to get as much done. I can't stay with you guys too long because I got to get myself together. Baby has given me some honeydews. For those of you who don't know what honeydews is, it's when your wife sits up and says, honey, do this, honey, do that, honey, do this. Now with me, it's not actually honey. She calls me bae or baby, but it's baby dues, honey dues, bae dues, whatever you want to do. I got some dues to do. So I'm going to have to kind of get this in and then get to what it is. First of all, I want to say something to you. Life in and of itself is a progressive continuum. What do I mean by that? I mean that you're constantly moving towards something. One of the most frustrating things to experience is to be constantly moving and not knowing what you're moving toward. So the first thing you have to do is establish a destination. Call that your destiny. You're going to establish, where are you wanting to end up? How do you want the world to view you when it's over? And that's what you're looking at. You're looking at building a legacy. It's more than just serving yourself. One of the most frustrating things you can do in this world, if you really truly want to experience fulfillment, is focus on serving yourself. And I can tell you that because that's what I did the first half of my life. It doesn't mean I was mean. If you talk to the people around me, they'll tell you I was great. Why? Because they benefited from me. They'll tell you that I was generous. They'll tell you a bunch of things. But the truth of the matter is, even when I gave, it was serving my ego. You know, it was that I had it to give, and that made me feel good. And there's nothing wrong with feeling good that you've got it to give. But if that's what's driving you, you've missed the mark. See, life is about serving people. It's about serving people. It doesn't mean that you're not supposed to get paid, get that loot, you know, get stacks, whatever else the terms are, the bag, whatever the terms are that they're using today. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to do that. It means that it has to be prioritized, and that getting the money is a result and not the end. See, getting the money is simply the result of helping people. When you understand that you get paid a lot of money for helping people in a unique way and bringing value to their lives, it's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's called an exchange. That's an exchange of value. They gave you something they had of value that you wanted. You gave them something of value that they wanted or needed, and it was an exchange. That's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And people who make you feel guilty for getting paid for helping people, number one is, if I bring value to your life, especially if I bring value to your life that allows you to make more money, why would you pay me for it? Because you're going to get back in multiples what you gave out. It makes absolutely no sense. So we first have to get out of the mindset of thinking that people owe us something for free. Now, if you're my buddy, my ace or something like that, I'm breaking you off different than everybody else. But I expect people to respect my experience, my expertise, my passion, and my commitment to not only achieving excellence, but helping to create it and sustain it in others. But the first thing you have to do is you have to know where you're going, your destiny, the destination that you want set. And when you know the destination, you know the direction. And when you know the direction, you know when you're on path and when you're not. And you're going to get knocked off the path. You're going to get redirected. You're going to get pushed back. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have delays. All of that's a part of the process, but you're on this continuum, right? And this continuum says some days you're moving forward and you're doing great. Excuse me. Sometimes on the continuum, you're taking a couple of steps back. That's life. There's nobody who has progressed along the continuum of life and never had setbacks, never took some steps back. Some of us have fallen from very high heights and hit rock bottom and had to start what we thought was the journey over again, but it wasn't. It was simply a recharge and a recommitment, and we started again, but we didn't start at the beginning. We didn't start back in infancy. We started back maybe from a financial perspective, but there's so much to learn out of life beyond finance. And when everything is about money, not having money becomes devastating. But when everything is about the whole of who you are and what you're contributing, you can find that there's no zeros and numbers in front of the zeros in your bank account, and you still have value because you're still contributing. And then the bank account will eventually correct itself. It has to. If you're giving value to the world, that's going to take care of itself when you have the right mindset. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're talking about quantum reality. And what are you manifesting? See, the moment you think something and you desire it in your life, or you think it and you focus on it, I want to make this clear, you manifest it. Now, it may not be manifested in the third dimension. The third dimension is where most of us experience our realities and literally hang our hats. It's this place where you see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, it's literally visible to you, and we call that reality. No, that's the interpretation of the reality, because you can show a different person the same thing and their perception of it will be different. How they respond to it will be different, and their realities will show different. So it's not simply the third dimension where life exists. There's the fifth dimension. The moment that you think something and you give it validity by believing in it, it becomes real. No matter what anybody else says, no matter what the facts say, no matter what science says, the moment that you give thought to something, good or bad, it's important that you understand this. What you focus on is what you're going to feel. What you focus on is what you're going to get. The moment that you give notice to your brain and your mind that, hey, this is what's going to happen. Remember, I've told you this multitudinous times that when that God, life, the universe, however you want to look at it, will only meet you at the level of your expectations. Where are your expectations coming from? Your expectations are coming from your beliefs. So your limitations are then set by your beliefs. The only limits you actually have in this world are the limiting beliefs that you hold in your mind about life, the world, and how you view it, your paradigms. That's why I put the link to the paradigm course in this description, in this post, because you have to be able to change the way you view certain things to have different results in those particular areas in life, whether it's marriage, whether it's parenting, whether it's finance, whether it's business, whether it's academics, whether it's social influence, political influence, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in life, it's going to be governed in the magnitude that you're successful by what you believe about yourself in that environment. If you believe that based on the paradigms you created, which was probably in observing your parents, your grandparents, and the people in your environment growing up, if you believe that poverty is your lot in life, and the best that you're going to ever do is maybe shoot for something around $50,000 to $75,000 a year and feel like you've made it, then the chance of you earning six figures or becoming a millionaire are pretty much non-existent, because you've set the expectations based on your beliefs about yourself. It doesn't mean that you're actually limited. It means that you have set the boundaries of your performance by your own expectations. God is never going to meet you beyond the level of your expectations. The universe is going to respond to what you expect. It's that simple. There's a book by Paulo Coelho called The Alchemist. And the general theme of this is whatever you decide and set your mind on doing or having, the moment that you believe it and you start to move toward it, the universe has absolutely no option but to respond to it by conspiring with you to make sure that you have it. Now, there's a time in between this in which this thing is manifesting, and you can call it a seed and then say it's gestating. See, when you plant a seed, you don't immediately turn around when you plant the seed and put the water on and see it sprout. There's a gestation period in which the seed has to take in the nutrients of the ground and the nutrients that you've added and the water and mix it. Now, its DNA knows what to do with the nutrients. Its DNA knows what to do with the water. And so it's automatically governed in what it's going to become before you plant in it at all. And so what you have to sit up and understand is that you are in a place in which you're literally generating and manifesting your reality with every thought. What you focus on, you feel. Some years ago, the film The Secret came out. And in The Secret, what happened is a lot of people got the superficial understanding of the quantum world. They talked about energy. They talked about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is simply the combination of the 7 universal laws and how they operate in a systematic form. In other words, there's no favoritism in this world. We have this belief that some people are just favored to do. No, some people start in different places. But at the end of the day, your potential demands something of you. Whether you actualize that potential or not, it demands something of you. And what we find in the universe is that the universe is not looking at certain people in different ways. The universe simply says, I'm going to take what you give me and I'm going to send you back the results. So if you're expecting negativity, you're going to receive negativity. If you're expecting to struggle financially, you will find a way to struggle no matter what. Have you seen people? They've struggled, right? Forget the lottery. The lottery is the ultimate in this analogy. Let's not look at the lottery, but you've seen it with the lottery where people have been poor, they get rich, and they get poor again. Okay, and then you can go around, you can look at a person and they're struggling every day. And then all of a sudden they hit a financial windfall, whether it's a tax return, whether it's something they got paid for an accident and insurance. So they got a couple of $100,000 they've never had before. And within a year or two, if that long, they're back to square one. And the easy answer to that is they don't understand finance and they're misspending. Yes, but that's not all of it. Because see, you can misspend and still have an understanding of finance and still have an expectation for yourself. And the expectation for yourself itself will change your spending habits. When you have an expectation that I am a good manager of money, I am good with finance, I am a good investor, I am going to reap the rewards of investing properly because that's who I am, you're changing your thinking and you're changing your expectations, and that will change your behavior. You're getting what you're thinking. I have seen people all day long talk about what they want, but never be willing to invest in what's necessary to have it because they're not thinking whole. They're still functioning from a wish list. See, the problem is the universe isn't paying attention to your wish list. God isn't paying attention to your wish list. God is actually looking at what you expect and is going to deliver like clockwork what you expect. Same thing with the universe. Universe says, okay, what is it that you believe? What is it that you believe? That's what I'm going to bring you. Why? Number one, it's so many different functions happening at the same time. Number one is your beliefs are going to govern your behavior. So your behavior is creating the systematic and consecutive decisions and choices that will produce the results. Second of all, your thoughts and your beliefs also emit energy. If you have low energy beliefs and expectations, your thinking patterns are going to function there. You're going to always be below 300 hertz on the energy scale. If you're filled with high expectations, you have a mindset of love and gratitude, you're going to function over 500 hertz systematically, consistently across the board. Yes, something can come along and knock you off for a minute, but you're not going to stay there. Why? Because you trained yourself to think high. You trained yourself to think positive. You've trained yourself to expect high and expect positive. And when something negative happens, it doesn't knock you off because you know, this isn't my world. This isn't the life that I created for myself. This isn't the life I believe for myself. So this isn't permanent. So people ask me when I went through in 2012, when I was probably at the worst condition I've ever been in, financially, socially, you sitting up and you thinking, man, I used to do this, I used to be this, I used to, and all this. And that didn't get me. What got me is I used to be a person that couldn't go anywhere without people crowding around me. And I was alone. I had convinced myself that being popular had value. And here I was in the worst place. And I realized it was my things that people were excited about. It was what I could do for them that they were excited about. It wasn't the person that they wanted to be close to. It was the things the person had access to. And I had to deal with that. But the people who really cared, the people who were there, they were few. And they would look at me and they would literally be shaking their heads. And I see that now, shaking my head. But they would look at me and they would be dumbfounded. And I'm like, what's up? And they're like, dude, with everything that you're going through, how in the hell are you smiling? How in the hell are you joyful and talking about all the beautiful, wonderful things that's going on in your life and happening in your life? I said, it's not really complicated. I've simply learned how to be functional in the present while living in my future. I've literally been able to create in my mind the image of what coming out feels like. See, let me tell you something. If you don't have the ability of visualization, life is going to be tough for you because you're never going to be able to see outside of your situations and your circumstances. You're going to be consistently living based off of what you're currently going through. And that's simply momentary, but you're locked into it and you're creating a mindset that's perpetual based off a temporary reality. And now you wonder why you can't get out. Because you won't get out of thinking and seeing all the negative that's now. And I tell people, I say, I'm living in my future. And and over the past 4 or 5 years, I've watched myself pass through things that I was living in 2012 while I was going through what I was going through. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that you have to be able to understand that life is a dynamic force. It is constantly moving. You're on a continuum. Where you're at now is not where you're going to be tomorrow. If you decide that's not where you're going to be, you have to look at it and say, I'm going through something. It's going to make me better. I'm going through something. It's going to make me stronger. I'm going through something. It's going to lift me higher. I'm going through something. It's preparing me to receive greater things. I am not identifying with my struggle. I'm identifying with my destiny. My mind is set on it. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. You're literally something I say every morning, and I typed it in there. There are a bunch of things I say every morning. I wake up and I do my gratitude thing. I do my meditation thing. I do my affirmations. And then I sit down and I look at my board. And on my board, I have written, we are committed to excellence. I am committed to excellence. Then it says, I am adequately sufficient to meet every challenge. I am abundant. I am wealthy. I am debt-free. I am powerful. I'm relentless, and I'm dominant. And it finishes, says, when I start the day, I create, I gravitate, I elevate, I generate, and I dominate. That's before I encounter anything in the world that's going to move against me and shake the ground I'm on. And yes, your ground is going to be shaken. Yes, you're going to go through some things. Yes, you're going to have some issues and some situations and some circumstances. It is simply what's going to be. What you have to understand is that this is simply a part of the process. See, so many people want the promise of their potential, but they don't want to endure the process that puts you in position to receive the promise. See, that can never be an attainment of the promise without there first being an endurance of the process. Process always precedes promise. The quantum world is simply the universe responding to the energy created by your beliefs and your thoughts. It's that simple. What you focus on, you feel. What you get anxious about will have the greatest power over you. Anxiety is a low vibrational energy spectrum. When you're frustrated, when you're worried, when you are angry, when you're bitter, when you're jealous, stressed, low vibrational energy. And here's the thing about energy that we know that we can prove scientifically, and that is energy is resonant. And what does that mean? Energy resonates with like energy. Energy attracts like energy. When I'm on a low spectrum, I'm going to attract low energy, low vibrational people, low energy, low vibrational situations. And what's going to happen is if I don't know how to fight out of it, I'm going to literally create that reality around me and be locked into it. I've got to learn how to think beyond what I'm seeing to what I anticipate and expect for my life. And for people who have religious faith, I always say, how can you believe and say you believe in God? God being, some of the attributes of God are omnipotence, all powerful, omniscient, all knowing, omnipresent, everywhere, loving, immutable, doesn't change. So I know what I'm going to get from God every day because God's not going to change up the game on me midstream. So those are constants. Now, all of this, and then most religions have some form of an indwelling. It's not unique to Christianity. Most religions talk about the internal divine. And if God is inside of me, hold on, wait a minute. Now that means there's something inside of me all powerful, something inside of me all knowing, something inside of me omnipresent, something inside of me that's powerful. One of the things that I speak when I'm doing my meditation, as I start to move into the affirmational part of my meditation, some of the things I say is, matter of fact, the closing of my last meditation says that I enjoy life, for each day brings a constant demonstration of the power and the wonder of the universe and myself. I am confident, I am serene, I am sure. No matter what obstacle or undesirable circumstance crosses my path, I refuse to accept it because it is nothing but an illusion. There can be no obstacle or undesirable circumstance to the mind of God, which is in me, around me, and serves me now. Another part early on in the same affirmational body is something that says that I can see the hand of divine intelligence all about me, in the flowers, in the trees, in the brooks, and in the meadows. I know that the intelligence that created all of these things is in me and around me, and that I can call upon it for my slightest need. There is no answer. There's no problem in which there's not every situation that is in front of me, every puzzle, every enigma, everything that's problematic has a solution, and the answers are on their way to me. Why? Because I am inextricably connected to the source. You have the power, the most powerful force is here. It tells you everything that you're experiencing. It controls everything you're experiencing. Have you wondered why two people who have experienced the same childhood end up in two completely different things? Perception, intent, the power of intent. I am going to refuse to be governed by my environment. I am going to influence my environment. I am going to be an impact in my environment. I will rise above the circumstances, the influence and situations in which I may be planted now to come out. So this is not my lot in life. This is not what I'm about. This is not the end for me. It's the beginning of a testimony that says I came, I saw, and I conquered. You have been given this powerful gift. The universe has no option but to respond to what this tells it. The universe is waiting on your demand. I tell people all the time that life will pay you the price you demand of it, whatever price you demand. I believe Jim Rome said it, Tony Robbins said it. And when I first heard it years ago, I'm like, whatever price? And see, that's something else I have. I never look at anything that's positive for me and doubt it. I never said, when somebody says something that I've never thought, but it applies to me and it's this awesome, but I just haven't visited that far yet. And they say that, I never go, man, I don't know about that. I'm like, that's for me too? You mean I get that too on top of all this other stuff? I get that? So I'm immediately accepting the good. But here's what I know about that. I know that when you place a demand on life, when you place a demand on the universe, when you place a demand on God, God says up and says, nothing good shall be withheld. Absolutely nothing good shall be withheld. But I have a counter demand. And I'll give you a prime example of that counter demand. The counter demand is simply saying you've got to put yourself in position to receive what you're demanding. You can't demand wealth with a poor mindset. You can't demand wealth with poor spending habits. You can't demand wealth with a materialistic mindset. So it's moving you. I'll give you a prime example outside of money so you get what I'm saying. I had a guy come to me, and you probably heard this story before. He came to me and he's like, man, I've been married for, I think, man, almost maybe 10 years. He said, I'm a sole provider. I make a great living. my family and my wife and my kids are wonderful. I love my wife. I provide for her. She doesn't have to work. Her job is simply raising our kids, taking care of our home, and enjoying life, the life that I provide for her. But we're really growing apart. And so I said, okay, I'll take you on. So we sit down, and within the first session, I already identified the problem. He had this erroneous mindset. He had this erroneous mindset that because he was the sole provider, he could pretty much do with his free time what he wanted to do. He wasn't a cheater, but he had this thing with his boys. He hung out with his boys more than he hung out with his wife. And I told him, I said, here's the problem. While a woman wants to feel financially secure, she also needs to be emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually secure. She needs to know that when she's having a moment, and she has them, no matter how good. See, everybody thinks that money fixes everything, and that's not true. See, you've done all the things with money that you can do for her, but she's telling you there's more that she needs. She needs to be able to sink into you. She needs to be able to say what's going on with her day and have you listen. She needs to show her that she's a priority in your life. And right now she is interpreting the time that you spend with your boys as being more in connected and giving them priority than her. So what you got to do is tell your boys, man, I love you guys, but I got to work on my marriage. I'm saving my marriage. I'm rebuilding my marriage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut our time together to once or twice a month instead of 3 or 4 times a week. And if they're really, truly your boys, they'll understand. And so I told him that, and he said, I'm going to do it. I said, all right, do that and come back, in maybe 3 months, we're going to sit down and we're going to evaluate where you're at. And so 3 months later, he comes back in and he's hot. He said, man, I did everything you said, man. I'm down to once a month with my boys, and we're still got this tension in the house and this and this. But I'm going to tell you what happened. See, his demand to God and life and the universe was, I want a better marriage. And God's response was, put your wife first. Now, see, what we have to understand in action is there's the action, and then there's the heart that drives the action. See, he was doing that thing with his boys begrudgingly because he still believed that because he was the sole provider, he should have the right to do so. So he was actually resentful for having to give it up. She read the energy that he was emitting when he was with her, and in her mind, I would rather you be gone than to bring that energy into me, because now I can't sink into you because your energy is hostile. I say, man, you got to really look at this. Give up the idea that you doing what you were designed to do gives you some special freedom to move away from what you have committed to. That's not how love works. And I touch on that in my 4th book, When Your House Is Not a Home, which is going back to print. It's always been available. It's available right now on Barnes & Noble, Sony Books, Kobo, Amazon. It's available in all those places. If you type Rick Wallace or Dr. Rick Wallace, whatever it is, type Rick Wallace and When Your House Is Not a Home, you can get the digital version. I took it out of print as I started to move on, because managing all these books in print, as the publishing house, I started my own publishing house. And to manage all these books gets kind of crazy when you're doing it with such a small support team. And so but I'm putting it back because the one thing we need is relational guidance right now. So I put it back. But what happened is I say, man, you got to go in with the heart of loving your wife. Your wife's first, and that she is equal with you, and that you're supporting her financially is equal to her supporting the home, taking care of the home, and providing in the home, and creating a loving environment for you to return to when you've done what you've done. She belongs at the top. Nobody else should be close to her. Your love for your kids has to come through your love for her. Oh, most people don't get that. Yeah, I will not allow anything to happen to my kids, but my love for my kids comes through the love for my wife, and vice versa. And because we have the same values, we don't ever have to worry about the kids suffering because we're loving on each other. The more we love on each other, the more the kids receive. But it has to come through. The covenant is the covenant. It's that simple. But that's what happens when you are putting a demand on the universe, but you are not meeting the demands of the counter demands of the universe. See, when you put, the universe will pay whatever price you demand, but you have to meet the counter demand. And the counter demand is never to hurt you, it's to put you in position. With that being said, look, I got to get out of here. I'm getting all kind of notices from Bay on these dudes. So I'm going to have to honeydew myself and get all these dudes together, check on the babies. And when I say baby, we ain't got no babies in the house. The youngest is 12, and everybody's older, and they're growing up too darn fast. But get ready to do something with the kiddos. And so, look, I really and truly hope this got you. I would really and truly love to work with some of you that are ready to go to the next level. Email me, inbox me. If you want, a good place to start is the financial literacy. If it's about money, you need to commit to that and do something. It's an investment. If you're looking to really shift your whole thinking, the Power Paradigms course is a good place to start. If you want to work with yours truly, and you're ready to commit to it, give me a holler. With that being said, I'm out of here. As I always say, I'm going to live my life on full, and I'm going to die on E. That's going to create my legacy. I'm challenging every last person who watches this video to do the same. With that being said, I'm out of here.